his discussion. However, we'll be moving to security. He said that the economy has been affected because of poor security. Of course, you talked about Jibia, you talked about Jega in a KB State, Jibia in a Katsina State. Even Lokoja, if you look at Lokoja, you just see that most of the rice plantation was flooded. And there's no way the farmers can bring back those products. Yes, but the major thing now is security. The security of this nation. You and I know that everybody, even little children, are affected. You just told me a story this morning of how you were almost kidnapped, part of the insecurity in this nation. So if you go left, you are hearing about insecurity. You go right, it's insecurity. And it's political time now. People are being stolen for rituals and several other things. Yes, and these things affected the farmland. Why is it that the government is pretending not to know what is going on? And everything is just going on smoothly. I will say, some time ago, General Sani Abacha said something. He said insurgency that exceeds 24 hours has the hands of government in it. So are we now saying that the President Buhari is sponsoring the bandits, or the presidency knows about the bandits? Because at the time, I remember we were negotiating. The presidency was negotiating with bandits. What a very funny nation. And then we are shouting about insecurity. Why is the government pretending as if insecurity is not an issue? And it even says some time ago that they have done very well in the area of security.
Thank you very much, Ma. I do not think that the president or the government is looking away from the matter of insecurity. If you recall that one of the reasons why this president was elected was because he is a retired army general.
Yes.
And by the time he came in, it was the time that Boko Haram members were blowing up cities. They could just come to Abuja, throw bombs here, go to other places, And this government, especially the president, did put so much attention on insecurity when he came in. I recall too that immediately he came in, he ordered that the command center, command control or command center, should move to Borno, Maiduguri. That's the epicenter of the insurgency at that time. But the truth is that as we progressed, insecurity now evolved into something else. Initially, all attention was on the northeast states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, where terrorists were really dealing with the country as at that time. Of course, about 6 weeks before the election of 2015, we saw the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, moving in mercenaries and others, to douse the tension there, reclaim communities that were seized by insurgents. But then, why the Buhari's administration was putting so much attention on Boko Haram, then we had the mutation of insurgents or terrorism. Later, we had the Ansarut group. Later, we had the foreign influence from the ISWAP group, And, all this now became hydra-headed for government to really even understand. Why they are treating this, another one was coming up. And when you remember the time that Alhaji Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, told Nigerians that Boko Haram had been degraded. Why speaking that grammar? Boko Haram elements were living in droves because the military were really pounding them in the northwest, in the northeast, and they were coming down south. They were coming down gradually, and you see influx of Nigerians coming to places like Kaduna. They were coming to Abuja. Then suddenly you see terrorism moving down to Niger State, to Ekiti, to Owo. Also, it is just the evolution of crime or criminalities. When you put pressure on them, they now move on. And don't forget that terrorism must have lifeline, and their lifeline is money. They now moved into kidnapping, where they collect so much ransom.
How did they get that money, sir, from the beginning to be mutating? These things are they started mutating like cancer, like you say.
Yes.
Does it mean that the government cannot handle its own nation? Are we saying that our government is weak. Why were they negotiating with them at this stage?
We have to understand certain things, ma. I mentioned this thing, I think, on Friday or which day here, that Nigeria used to be the happiest nation on earth according to a global rating at a point.
It's just an imagination.
It's not an imagination. We love life.
Nigeria as the happiest people.
That's who we were. That's who we were.
We were looking happy, not happy.
No.
Up till now, it's still the same thing.
Wait.
We are suffering and smiling, like Bella said.
Those indexes that we have brought forward, we have not been able to fault it. But what I'm saying is this.
No data to do that.
I don't think that. No, I think it was a global body that did that, just like GTI we are talking about now.
That's what I'm saying. The global body did that on just on our faces.
Of course, they could have looked at our social life, look at the way our resilience, they look at our
push an average Nigerian to the wall. He breaks the wall and continues.
Yeah, so
he doesn't turn back. So we look happy.
But then, whether that's the representation or not, when the first gunshot of Boko Haram happened in Nigeria in 2009, it was like something that's totally strange to us. Nigeria, it was combat. You remember that Nigeria, the same Nigerian army or the Nigerian military we are talking about, are the one that will go to ECOMOG and do well. They are the one that will go on foreign mission in Europe. They will do well.
Because they are taken care of in foreign missions.
No, I don't think so.
Are they being taken care of here?
No. What happened?
Face these people?
We have to understand something.
Where will an ordinary herdsman get AK-47?
We have so much to think.
How
in that
did
and
they get to that level?
Number one, let's understand that before 2009, Nigeria never had that kind of experience, where you have to engage in asymmetrical warfare. You do not identify. You cannot even identify who your enemy is. Your enemy mixes among the community and everything, so you do not know who the enemy is. Boko Haram was surviving on ideology. And you do not say this. You cannot just look at me and say I'm Boko Haram. And looking at me does not say that I'm not Boko Haram. So it was a new experience that Nigeria had no previous or prior experience in handling. And that is why it took us certain times that even President Goodluck Jonathan had to bring in machinery from other places in countries that have had similar experiences to say, no, how do you handle this? It was novel to us. We didn't know that. So that took us certain time. And of course, we are talking about how we get our arms and all those criminals. There was one in Libya. Where all sorts of arms were bought, and Gaddafi, of course, armed certain people that became criminals. And Nigeria, with over 1,000 porous borders, arms can flow into Nigeria anyhow.
We are still going back to the government.
Yes, that's why some people have said that the best way to undo when you want to consider proliferation of arms and all those things in the hands of terrorists and all stuff is to look at how you man our borders, the customs service. But we have the Nigerian Customs Service that I don't know how well digitized it is and how much of men that are on the ground for them to man over 1,000 borders. This is not just a speculation, it is in public realm. So when you have borders that people can move in, and smuggling in Nigeria is still going on unabated because there are borders without men.
It's only rice that are being seized at the borders.
They are being seized because we have internal interest now.
Rice and vegetable oil. It's such a situation where we major the minor and minor the major. That's what our nation, because the proliferation of arms and the beginning of Boko Haram was not nipped in the bud. The reason why it became cancerous and started to grow and started to attack other organs. If at that initial stage it was nipped out, if one person comes in with arm and he has 1,000 people with him, how do they buy more arms? Considering the price of this, can you afford one?
I cannot.
How did
I'm not interested in getting one.
Even if you're interested, sir, you have to look for the money. I learned one AK-47 cost around 2 million plus.
Well, the truth is that we have to understand that someone said sometimes ago that it's like all these kidnappers that you see everywhere now. That you see kidnapper that takes 100 million, 50 million, and when this guy is arrested, you see a ragtag individual that does not even show any proof of maybe having 50,000. So where are those ransoms going to? Who is collecting those ransoms? Who is the brainchild behind all this? So, like every other crime, there are backers, there are sponsors, and government has said it over the time that they know that there are sponsors and they will publish sponsors. Unfortunately, they have not been able to sponsor. To name
you are going
sponsors.
To where I'm going.
Yes, we know, but what we are saying is that
government has a hand in it.
No, government does not have a hand in hand. See, that will be making some errors if we believe that government has a hand in it. Maybe government policies and tactics are not well equipped enough to meet up, because
I disagree.
Criminals always think ahead.
Mr. Adebayo, if as a common man, ordinary person, if I steal 1 million, they will track me and get me. But if you, as a politician, steal 100 million, nobody will know who owns the money. Even in the bank.
We have.
That's how bad the economy. You know this law.
I understand what you're saying.
Farm. We are living in the animal
I understand
farm.
See, if you say that government is not doing anything, then we may be having certain misconceptions. Part of government really understands later, because it's like we want to fight corruption. Some people feel that you are only fighting corruptions when you throw people into jail, when you arrest people, when you do that. No, that will not solve. The best way that one of the best way that government thought how to handle the issue of insecurity or terrorism is through terrorism financing. And they have tried everything. They realized that the other time we were talking about what do you call it, money laundering through real estate. Criminals were even, I think you should be aware of this, that criminals were using all these NGOs.
Oh yes.
You know,
yes,
they were using NGOs to, all sorts of criminal and funny NGOs to launder money, and that's why government through the EFCC said no. Let us have the SCOME. That's what do they call it? I've forgotten the name now. Something control of of money laundering. So they are bringing, and it is also through that effort that they brought in the national financial NFIU. I've forgotten the something now. So they are trying to track funding, and they are trying to see how illicit funding to terrorists and terrorist organizations could be tamed, because it's only that way. And government cannot just come to me now and say, okay, they see 100 million in my account, and because of that I automatically become a terrorist sponsor.
But they have been doing that. They have been arresting small Yahoo boys on the road. They have been doing a lot of arrests. Why are they disturbing those boys when their great fathers are there embezzling this money?
Because that's another crime or criminal activity on its own. Cybercrime.
Yes.
When you commit cybercrime, it's also as good as exposing your country.
Why are they concentrating on just cybercrime?
No, they are not.
Even those that are kidnapping and ritualists.
I'm not speaking for the government, but the truth is that
you seem to be on the side.
No,
of
I'm
the
not.
government.
I'm
Maybe
not.
You are benefiting what I don't.
No, that would be unfair. What I'm trying to say is this. You see, when we say that certain indices of government are not effective,
Yes.
it is also, to me, translating to me that those policies are not sophisticated enough, that government has not done enough. It does not mean that government is not doing anything. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, after Boko Haram and all these things, of course, we didn't have the scale of kidnapping, the scale of banditry as we are having, as it was then. So there is always a challenge for each government to tackle with in terms of insecurity. Before, in this country, used to be armed robbers. When you are traveling, you are afraid. You don't want armed robbers to attack you. But now people don't think about armed robbers again. They are thinking about we don't want to get kidnapped, because armed robbers knows that if he attacks you, they will maybe at most he get 50,000 from you, he get 20,000. But if he takes somebody for ransom, he'll be asking for millions of naira. So it becomes more lucrative for criminal actors than for them to be doing that. So it's an involvement of of policy. As criminals are growing, what we can blame government for now is that maybe government is not thinking well enough or ahead
The
of
government
criminals.
is not moving at their pace.
Yes, I had the chairman of EFCC before when he appeared before the parliament for his budget defense recently. He said, "You have not given us enough money that we need for our training center," and fraudsters, criminals are thinking every day. So for us to be able to fight crime, we have to train and train and train and train. So that is what is missing. Not just the EFCC, the security agencies must be thinking ahead every day. In fact, what makes you proactive as security agencies for you to think like 10 times ahead of criminals. But if they are the one not thinking ahead of you, then the result will not be there. So our funding, also the welfare, you mentioned that also, are men that are ready to, that are deployable. You know, we also think about that. One of our colleagues, I think Mr. Patrick mentioned here sometimes ago that we have the security agencies, the military in particular, distributed all over almost the 36 states of the federation. It's not supposed to be like that. The military is supposed to be for external security, while the police take care of the internal security.
Now they have even mixed up. We don't know which.
We don't know which way again now. Military now do traffic warning.
Some of them are even police on the road.
Unfortunately.
Now. So thank you very much, Mr. Adebayo. We've been on an X-ray of President Muhammadu Buhari's governance in the last almost 8 years. They're about handing over power, but we want to see what has gone wrong. Unfortunately, we're only able to talk about economy and security vis-a-vis the BTI's report. However, the report says that Nigeria is number 108 out of 137. We still have some seniors in these areas of in the areas of poor governance. So that's it on today's main issues. Mr. Adebayo, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Yetunde Yemi Bangbushi, and thank you very much our viewers for following us on this program. Thank you. It's ACJ Online, Abuja City Journals Television Online, and we thank you for viewing. The crew member, thank you very much. Hajia Fati, thank you. Mr. Lekan, Mr. Patrick, we are grateful. Thank you for making the program a success. Join us same time tomorrow on this same station, and also you can join us on our Facebook channel, on our Instagram handles. You can join us on Twitter. You can join us on YouTube. Just at from morning till night, we have different programs you can hook onto. You can send in your adverts. You can come in to talk about yourself. You can come in to talk about your business. We have our business desk that will bring you in at a token. Thank you very much for viewing. Join us same time tomorrow on this same television online.
Àti wàpá.
Yeah,
Àti
sure.
tàn bá